Good afternoon all. Should we have some music? Yes, I think we should. Let's power on this speaker. Ooh, see the excursion on those speakers. Yeah, power on this amplifier. It plays its little tunes. And now I'm going to power on my Ryobi Tech 4 MP3 player. It's quite old, this thing, but it should be fine. And it should autoplay, would be my guess. Yeah. Groovy. Now these tracks are from the YouTube copyright free library, and they're all under the category dance and electronic, bright, not funky or groovy, just bright. Now of course this works fine on a 12-volt battery, as you'd expect. These amplifiers easy to use, although you do have to override the aux input cutoff. I hope you can hear me. But now the question is, will this run from a supercapacitor? So let's take the battery out, bring in my supercapacitor bank, 3 of these 2.5 volt 700 farad supercapacitors. I've made up a third one. This thing runs down to about 6 volts, so let's see if it'll work on here. Let's plug that on there. It's not quite the right connectors, but they're kind of good enough. Oh, I can't see to get that on. Well, we didn't get much of a thump on the speakers. There is a power light on. Let's press play. And no, we're not getting anything. And that's probably because these supercapacitors have discharged, because this was working earlier. Right, so I'm going to have to charge these back up. I'm going to use this little power supply for that. I've put some connectors on it. I've also put a diode in series with this so that we don't get any nasty backfeed from these capacitors, because there's probably still a bit of voltage on them. Where shall I put them? I could put them here so that we can see them. Let me rearrange things a bit. Right, let's plug this in. Now I've set it to 7.5 volts because that's the maximum voltage that I can have on these. I've set it to half an amp. Shouldn't take long to charge these up. Let's start that going. So it's running at half an amp in current limit. Let's check the voltage. 6.59. I'll leave that there and we can watch that go up. Well, I won't make you watch it go all the way to 7.5. Actually, I might jack the current up a bit. Let's go to current. Where's current? There it is. Let's take it up to an amp. Let's take it up to 1.5 amps actually. Because the whole point of supercapacitors is that I should be able to charge them rapidly. Voltage, and up we go. So I'm waiting for these little red lights on the top of the supercapacitors to start coming on. I'll come back when that starts to happen. 7.4. Oh, we're getting a bit close, so I'm going to bring the current down to under an amp. Let's say 800 milliamps. Back to current. Yeah, 800 milliamps, back to voltage, 7.45. We're pretty close. Any of these coming on yet? No, not yet. I'll let you know when they do. I just realised I haven't allowed for the voltage drop on that diode. So at 7.5 they're not, and it's in voltage limit now. It's not going to actually happen, is it? So let's take that up to 7.6. And we've got 2 of the lights coming on these capacitors. Now, interestingly, and it's a bit worrying actually, this one, I don't think the light works. This was the one I just made, because I had 2 and I know they were working already. This one, the light doesn't come on, so I better just check the voltage on that. This one's very slow to come up. That's 2.28. Because it's new. Well, it's not new, they're all old, but I haven't charged this one before. I've given these two several charge and discharge cycles. This one's just being really sluggish. and I have taken it up to 2.52 volts, and that red light didn't come on, so I'm going to have to look at that in another video. We're back in constant voltage again. Let's take that up a bit higher. 7.65. So that's coming up. The other two are up to voltage. I can show the voltage on those. We've got 2.515 and 2.509. So they're up to 2.5, but this one's just a bit sluggish. I'm sure it'll settle down in time. But anyway, we've got pretty much 7.5 volts across them. So will they power the amplifier? So let's switch this off and disconnect these, and I can get rid of the power supply. That wire can go there. And now let's hook up, let's bring this speaker back round. Let's hook up the supercapacitors. Oh no, which is positive? Better get this right. These red lights are still on, so those are still pretty much up to 2.5 volts. Let's see if we get a thump on the amplifier. Yeah. But it only worked once. What have I done wrong? Let's take it off and back on again. Can't see what I'm doing very well, and that's causing problems. Let's try again. Oh, and it works! Cool. Now, can we get a bit more volume? And there it is, running on the supercapacitors. So it truly is the supercapacitor powered Bluetooth speaker, if you're going to use Bluetooth on this little amplifier. We'll just get that set up a bit better. Right, there we are. Now, have we got any more volume from this thing? No, the MP3 player is at maximum, but there are some gain controls on this amplifier, so let's tweak them. Yeah, let's go flat out. So you can see we're using a lot of current to move these speakers quite a lot. Let's check the voltage on those capacitors. And we got 7.12. It's dropping, but quite slowly. So I reckon that's going to play for quite a while. Even with quite a bit of bass on there. Let's get that on again. 7.08. Oh, don't want to short this all out. I'm a bit worried about it. Okay, next track. It's a loud one. Let's back this off a bit. Let's check the voltage again. Still just above 7 volts. That's holding out pretty well. And we're down to 6.99. So there it is. Well, proof that the supercapacitor powered Bluetooth speaker is not running on Bluetooth at the moment. It's on AV audio in from my MP3 player, but yeah, proof that this works. and given enough voltage, because of course I'm not going to run it off 3 capacitors, I'm going to run it off, well, 6 possibly. I could even go to 8, but that's going to put 24 volts through this amp, which is right at the max. And some people have said this gets very hot. Actually, is it getting hot? No, not at all. Not at this voltage, but still playing. Cool. Let's have another track. What's the next one? And I'll jack it right up. I've got to check this voltage again. 6.9. And yeah, so there we have it. The Bluetooth supercapacitor powered Bluetooth speaker works. Just got to get some more capacitors. Got to fix that little LED sort of protection circuit. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with that, but I'll have a look at that. Get some more of these things in series. Make some sort of enclosure for this so these speakers are mounted. They'll sound a lot better if they're mounted. Progress. Cheerio.